I also invited Angelos Syrigos, an MP from Greece's ruling party, New Democracy. Good afternoon, Angelos. Thank you for joining me today.
It is a pleasure. Happy New Year.
And to you as well. Let's kick things off. So I want to understand, can you explain sort of in a nutshell for our viewers who may not know the long history, why does Greece not recognize Kosovo?
Okay. Greece is one of the 5 EU member states that do not recognize Kosovo's unilateral declaration of independence since 2008. The reason is that we consider as a basic principle of our policy the territorial integrity and independence of states. And that is the reason that we support dialogue between the two sides, the Serbia and Kosovo. And we want a normalization of relations with Kosovo in order to see what we're going to do. We want something to be acceptable by both sides. This is our principle.
Now, in a situation where Serbia has sort of, I mean, on one hand, they say they want to engage in dialogue, but then domestically, President Alexander Vučić says we're never going to recognize Kosovo. Do you think that this approach of sort of waiting for Kosovo and Serbia to sort things out might take a very long time or might not work at all?
Well, in spite of the fact that we do not formally recognize Kosovo, we still maintain strong ties with Kosovo. That means that in Pristina, we have established a diplomatic mission, which is accredited by the UN MIC liaison office in Pristina. And we participate in the EU civilian mission, EULEX, as well as in the NATO mission, K4 in Kosovo. That means the fact that we do not recognize Kosovo does not mean that we do not have any relations with the Kosovan authorities. Actually, we are one step before recognizing Kosovo.
And this is my next question. So the Deputy Prime Minister of Kosovo, Besnik Beslimi, told me in an interview just before Christmas that Kosovo knows very well what it would take for Greece to take that next step, but he wouldn't tell me what that was. So I want to ask you, in your view, what would it take? You know, you mentioned dialogue, etc., but that aside, is there any other scenario or situation where Greece could take that next step towards recognition?
Well, as I said, our principle is to support peace, stability, and development in Southeast Europe. There is a serious problem in our area. In the past, we called it, they tried, to change the name, and they were speaking about Southeastern Europe. Then they are speaking about Western Balkans. We do not want this term to be synonymous with instability, with violence, with war. We support constructive political approach on this issue. And that's why we want to promote development and stability in the Balkans. And we strongly believe in the EU facilitated dialogue process between Belgrade and Pristina. For us, it is very important. I do not think that we're going to change our position on Kosovo. If I remember well, our Prime Minister Mitsotakis last year in February 2022 stated that we will not change our position in Kosovo, but we strongly support the continuation of the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia. And we want normalization of relations between the two sides.
We talk about stabilization, and you talk about the importance of the need for stabilization in the region, especially in the current geopolitical context. But I think it's fair to say that Serbia have perhaps not demonstrated a huge amount of stable behavior, especially over the last couple of months. What happens with the opposition leader there recently, the elections, the injuring of NATO troops back in the summer. There have been a number of issues, and people have said, maybe the EU is being a little soft on Serbia. What's Greece's view on this?
Okay, let me tell you the final stage of what we expect from Western Balkans. We want all countries of the Western Balkans to become part of the European Union, and therefore solve many of these issues that you have just mentioned. We are supporting EU initiatives on this issue, and we do not believe that violence can solve problems in general, can solve any problems. And the final step will be participation of all Western Balkan states to the European Union. That's how all these problems are going to be solved. Once upon a time, all these states were part of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was dissolved. Now the aim is to have all these countries in the European Union under totally different circumstances in comparison with what was Yugoslavia, under freedom, under different economic and social situation. And that's how these issues are going to be solved.
Is by bringing everybody together. I wanted to go back a step. I was asking about what is behind Greece's non-recognition. Is this, is for people who may not be familiar with the area, is this to do with national issues as well? You have Muslim majority in Thrace, you have issues with Turkey, you have the Cypriot issue as well with the occupied north there, and obviously the links between Greece and Cyprus. Are you concerned that a recognition of Kosovo may set a precedent at a national level for issues sort of within Greece with Turkey, etc.?
There is a decision by the International Court of Justice on this issue, which says that Kosovo does not represent a precedent for recognition in other circumstances where we have the cessation of a part of a state which becomes another state. From the other point of view, we have many problems, for example, with the situation between Ukraine and Russia and the Russian invasion in Ukraine. And what happened with Russia and Crimea, because the problem for us is the respect for territorial integrity and independence of states. That's why I said from the first moment that the solution will come after dialogue between the two countries and a treaty, a peace treaty, an agreement between Serbia and Kosovo. That's how these issues are solved. There is no, in international law, there is no solution by one state only.
I want to ask as well, obviously, I don't know, do you think that the problematic relationship between Greece and Albania, they're not particularly getting on very well at the moment. Does this have any impact on Kosovo recognition? Should Albania be doing more to help Kosovo in this process? Is that a factor as well?
These are two totally different issues. I want to remind you that in August last year, there was a meeting between the Balkan states. The Prime Minister of Kosovo was invited and he was there in Athens. And whereas the Albanian Prime Minister was not invited due to the problems that are created and are connected with the rule of law, the rights of minorities, respect of human rights in general, etc. It has nothing to do, the situation between Greece and Albania, with the recognition of Kosovo. Okay. These are totally different issues. The case between Greece and Albania has to do with the rule of law exclusively.
And obviously that's to do with minorities, Freddie Beleri, and we have the maritime border issue as well. Now, my last question for you regarding Spain. It was quite unexpected, in my view, that they did this sort of U-turn, because I remember under a year ago, the foreign minister was adamant that they were not going to be accepting passports. And then there was this very quick U-turn. In your view, what was behind that? Is it political pressure from the EU? Is it a change in local politics in Spain to do with Catalonia? Is it to do with the fact they were the only non-recognizer who wasn't recognizing the passports? Or is it a combination of different factors? Or are they perhaps going to be next to recognize Kosovo, in your view?
I think it was a combination of issues. It has to do with internal politics as well. The fact that they have accepted, there was an agreement of the government with Catalonia, with the people, the Catalans who wanted independence. Furthermore, the fact that Spain was an exception in the European Union. All the other countries were accepting passports. So all these things were taken together. And that's why we reached this result.
Could they be next in line for recognition? Can you speculate or no?
No.
Thank you very much, Angelos. Thank you for your time and for your insights on this.